David Morgan with you at the Investment Pitch Studios in British Columbia, Vancouver. Today I have Paul Gill across from me, and we're going to talk about Lomiko, and it's good to see you back in the Investment Pitch Studios. But for people who don't know, Paul, introduce yourself and your company, please.
Thanks, David. My name is Paul Gill. I'm the CEO of Lomiko Metals and Lomiko Technologies. Lomiko Metals trades on the TSX Venture under the symbol LMR, and in the OTC QX in the United States, LMR-MF. And we've been exploring for graphite in Quebec and are about to launch a resource there under our Lulutra project. And we've also been doing lots of interesting stuff on graphene and electronic products.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to drill down on the graphene side of things because this is something that I've looked at more at a cursory level, not at the level that you have, but I think we need our audience to understand a little bit more about graphene. So why don't you tell us what it does and what's so unique about this graphene industry that's kind of emerging in the last several years?
Yeah, from an investing perspective, every once in a while, every once in a decade or so, there's a new thing that comes along that changes everything. Computers, mobile phones, the internet, these are all massive changes that have happened. The last massive change that happened on the material sides was plastic, the introduction of plastic in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And imagine how much plastic there is in the world today. So what we've done is tried to find that one material that is that much of an impact on manufacturing and production. And what we've come up with is this material, graphene, which is entirely made out of carbon. It is 200 times stronger than steel, 1,000 times more conductive than copper, and can be made into 12,000 different patents that have been filed.
Fantastic. I'm going to drill down a little bit because I've read that the conductive capability of graphene is actually superior to silver. I don't think it's economic to do it, but why don't you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, the particular structure of the carbon atoms is a hexagon shape, which is really amenable to electrical conductivity. In fact, they're touting this as a potential for new batteries. They're putting it into 3D printing for creating electrical circuits and printing electrical circuits. Really interesting stuff. The conductivity is definitely one of the biggest items out there, and because it's two-dimensional, you can print it or create it and have that as a coating onto other materials such as aluminum or copper and create some very interesting conductive materials.
Fantastic. Well, let's come back to the company, and why don't we discuss the few milestones that you've achieved since the last time we had a discussion about Lomiko.
Yeah, in last year, in 2015, we wanted to launch Lomiko Technologies and some of the electronic products that were related to it. So we've licensed 3 electronic products. We've had an investment into Graphene 3D Lab. We own 4 million shares in that company, which trades under the symbol GGG, GPHBF in the US. And that company is really developed well. They've hit revenue now, and they're now really getting more and more exposure. They've recently signed an R&D deal with a Fortune 500 company to develop specific technology for that company's industry. They also have just acquired Graphene Labs, which is the private company that has $1 million in sales and 10,000 customers. So we see a real growth potential with Graphene 3D. It's trading at about 25 cents now. It's been as high as 250, and I think we're going to see some growth in the next few years.
So Paul, let's come back to one of the more difficult questions for me in the industry, and that is, what's the treasury look like? How viable is the company going forward? Why don't we just discuss that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've raised $5.5 million in 2014 for Lomiko, and we've been deploying that in 2 different ways. One, we spent about $3 million on the Lulutra property, which will now produce a resource, and we've come to the completion of that. And we've also been investing in technology as well, and that has had a good return on investment. We've invested about $350,000 into Graphene 3D and come up with about $1 million of equity in that company now. So at the present time, we'll release our resource and go to the market with that. We're expecting some funds to return to us from the government from our exploration work. And I think that in the next little while, we're creating a considerable amount of value that the market will appreciate.
Great. Paul, so it's very intriguing, as you said, and I like the context you put that, it's like the plastics industry. I remember it brought me back to The Graduate and what he's saying, plastics. But graphene is something I think people really need to pay attention to. You've certainly spearheaded one of the better companies in the arena of graphene, and we wish you every success. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you feel, the viewers need to know about your company, Lomiko Graphene, or the resource industry in general?
Yeah, I think the resource industry now is at a considerable low compared to where it has been in the past. Junior venture companies are dying on the vine in different ways. We feel somewhat insulated from that because we have equity in Graphene 3D. We have funds that are coming into us from government returns. And we're looking at creating an extensive value chain from graphite to graphene and then selling that graphene in the future. So we think we have a good future in the next 3 or 4 years, and we hope that investors see that and see the difference between Lomiko and the uniqueness of the company.
Great. So for more information, investors can do what?
We have 2 websites, lomiko.com, Lomiko.com, and lomikotechnologies.com, which is our new website. We will be turning into an e-commerce site shortly.
Great. Paul, always a pleasure. Again, I wish you every success.
Thanks very much.